have that to share with others. Well, do you want to begin with some of the new Divi things, or?
You're gonna put me on the spot. All right.
Or otherwise I can start. It doesn't matter which.
You're the one that made the sample page. Let me open it. Let's see how good you did. I will evaluate your work.
Oh, well, this was really quick. So
Okay,
yeah.
all right. So one of the cool new features is this sticky function. So you can see that the sidebar is staying. I will say that the thing that you did, Tim, that I don't like is if it's going to stay, then everything else that's on the side should be out of the way.
Yes. Okay.
Or you should have it end at the end of this section. So let me fix this for you. So having sticky elements, the ways that I thought of that would be really useful for churches is, you know, if you wanted a piece of information that you wanted to keep in front of somebody's eye, like you wanted your first time visitor call to action on your homepage to stay on the side, that might be an example where you would use this. Oh, and you use the button presets are here too. Okay.
Yep. So that's for just next.
So I'm actually just gonna delete it.
Sure, that's
delete
fine.
the third one so that you can, okay. All right. So this is kind of what Tim's done. He's put a call to action over here on the side. And I'll show you where the settings are. So this is just a call to action module. And if I go to advanced and scroll effects, it's set to stick to the top. And then bottom sticky limit, you can limit it to the section that you're in. So when it gets to the bottom of the section, it'll stop being sticky. So that's really useful. So if you have like a long blog post and you want your sidebar to stay to the side the entire time, but then when you get past the blog post into the footer, it no longer continues to go down the screen. So I'm going to choose section, and we'll see how good you'll see that it stops now when we get to the bottom of that section. Okay, the other really good example that I can think of to use this is if you want a contextual menu that's on the page that goes all the way down, or if you want a menu that sticks to the bottom, like they have on a lot of apps. And so if you need an extra, when I say contextual menu, I basically mean you have a group of pages that maybe you want to have a menu for just that group of pages. And on every page on the sidebar, maybe right here in the same place, you have a little menu of those pages, or going across the top, you have a menu of just those pages so that people can navigate within them. And then the menu would stick to the top. Or similarly, it could stick to the bottom. Of course, it would need to be down farther for that. And so it's a great way to keep a menu or keep a piece of data in front of somebody. If you have a really important announcement, I don't know, if you think of any other use cases for this, Tim, that have come across your head?
I guess the main thing is just really that if you have something that is really an important announcement, I mean, of any kind. And so, if your youth ministry is really doing something special and there's a deadline for registration, you might make a little blurb or call to action or something that would stay on that youth ministry page to just keep reminding people every time they go, and have that stick here. So yeah, I think that's really just the use case. It's just whenever you really want to keep something in front of people.
I need to find the new. Divi used to have a way to do this that we did for a couple clients. It was really hard to do.
It was, yeah. It was a third-party
required
plugin.
code,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah, that video that you just
This
passed.
video, this one is the one that I wanted to show people. So
Yeah,
if you really wanted to get like clever with your design, you can do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of neat things. That little 5-minute video that's right above the one that he's showing you gives a really nice introduction to all of it, and it's really a nice little good overview.
We'll chat this to people.
So if you just Google Divi sticky options, you'll find that video right away.
All right, so the presets I have not played around with as much, but I've seen them a lot. Okay.
You got that, or
Yeah, so why don't you just explain to me
so
what to do?
basically what these presets are ways of creating styling for different sections, for different modules or different sections. Anything you create in Divi, it's a way of saving your styling and then very quickly accessing it. You maybe already know that you can, create background colors and things like that and have those saved. But this is kind of a different level. And so each of these has been saved as a preset, and you get that little new option up there under the button settings. And so now I have button preset orange, purple, and green. And I didn't do anything with these except to create them as a purple background with a centering effect or alignment. And so as Will switches it, it just does that. And the nice thing about this is you can edit those. And then once you do, anywhere on your site where you've used that preset, it will change it everywhere. So it's a global preset in that way.
Also dangerous.
It is also dangerous. It is also dangerous. Yeah.
Don't use it unless you're really sure you're gonna like use that element all over the place, and then don't change things unless you're sure that it's gonna change them everywhere the way.
Yeah. Exactly. But the thing about it is you're only changing the styling. You're not changing the text. And so like that click here button, if you were to add a new one, that's what it's going to say. It's just going to be click here until you go in and change that text. So it's just the styling for it, just the background colors and the borders and shading and any other kinds of things like that. And you can do this with any module at all. And then, so you can, if you were to click if you start doing a new one and then want to make it into a preset, you can drop down and save it as a new preset. Or you can also edit those by hovering over those and clicking the little pencil icon, and then you can go back in and edit your things. So lots of different ways to kind of create these or save to one or edit them once they're created.
You can edit the default preset for things too.
Yeah, so that there'll always be a certain button that will come up. So this can really be a time saver.
Can you break things out of a preset?
That's an interesting question. I don't think so. If you can, that's not.
I guess you would just turn them back to default.
Easy.
If you want, but then you'd lose all your styling.
Right.
So I guess.
Unless, what's that?
If I just changed it, this is a change. And then I went to preset orange. So that kind of still works. Because it's the content you can change. It just does the styling.
Right.
Although it'll put in whatever content. Okay, so let me change it.
It doesn't have any content at all. It's just the styling.
Oh, okay. This is a change. We should show everybody our new site we're about to launch.
We will. Yeah, we will.
Okay, so I don't think maybe since the content doesn't change, you don't need to break it out. from the styles. You would just give it a new style, maybe.
Except then, yeah,
Well, so if I gave it a new,
you'd be getting a
create new preset from current style. So I could start with the green style and then give it, I could create the yellow style. And I would have everything that the green style had, except the color would be different. It'd be yellow.
What does the, when you drop down, what is the, and hover over one of those, there were like some other options.
Oh yeah, edit, settings,
What's that one?
update preset with current
Okay.
styles,
Duplicate.
duplicate preset,
And save it as a
star,
favorite.
assign is the default.
Default. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know that you really could break it out. You would just simply have to delete it and start with a new module.
This is one of those things where if you take the time to do this as you're working on the site, you'll save time further down the road. It's like one of those things, if you do a lot of this up front and you remember that you did it, then it'll save you time and it will really help you keep your styles consistent. So one of the things about, kind of our do-it-yourself church website network is there aren't many church people that are designers or web designers. And one of the things that we find is it's really hard for people to discipline themselves to keep design consistency throughout their site. And one of the reasons why that might be is because they just might not have a great understanding of why design consistency is important. If you want people to feel like your site is a singular experience and you want them to trust it and you want them to be able to understand what they're seeing at a glance so that they can easily digest your content, you have to have a lot of consistency. And this is something that can help you provide that. It can discipline you. Like you can only use these two styles of buttons on your site. Like don't create new presets, just use one. You maybe have a button for one circumstance and you have a button for another circumstance. Maybe you only have 3 types of headings that you use on your site. So you have 3 presets and you just stick to one of those presets. Maybe you only have one way of doing box shading for something. I don't know. There's just a lot. Like if you could get it down to just a few things, you'd really help discipline yourself. And I know that both Mike and Henry have wanted to say something. Go ahead.
I like this because I like when I do buttons, I like to have them red with white writing. And then when you hover over them, they turn green. So that would be, I consistently use that style. And this will be very helpful for me.
Yeah, and that takes a little while to create all those different things when you do the hover effects and stuff.
Yeah, this is a huge shortcut.
Yeah.
You can make your button in 5 seconds now. And depending on how fast your typing is. Like type one, you have to type a link, whatever the button text is, and you have to select the preset. That's it. So add button. So 1 click, type in 2 fields, and then 1 more click, and then your button's created.
Yes.
And it looks exactly the way you want it to.
Well, those are the 2 big things in Divi. Any questions about either of those? Well, if you think of any, we can come back.
What else was on your agenda? Did you talk about ACH?
I was going to talk about polls in Gravity Forms.
Oh, polls.
I've got a poll already set up.
You're so prepared. I'd be like winging it.
Well, I was prepared except for the fact that my laptop wouldn't open up and start Zoom.
Where's your
today.
poll page? You need to delete this test page when we're done too. I don't want
definitely. Yeah.
crowding up my pretty new website that I've spent hundreds of hours building. And you have too.
You can show this at the very end. So let's see. Do you want to?
Yeah. What page is your test on for the polls?
It is on the. It's actually on regular Aboundant.
Oh, okay.
and in forms.
I am not logged in currently because I was testing something earlier today that I needed to be logged out for. Nobody look at my password. Avert your eyes. It's not Shin. Hi, Mary. Can you hear us all right?
I can. I'm listening in on my phone.
Oh, okay.
Ah, okay, wonderful. What church are you at, Mary?
Milford, United
Milford,
Methodist
okay.
in Nebraska.
Marvelous. Great.
I have a friend that knew Milford United Methodist Church, which is in Connecticut.
Oh,
So this
maybe that
one,
should be a lifetime. It should be a lifetime goal to visit all Milfords, maybe.
there we go.
Okay, so in
Forms, yep. So this is just a little feature that was added a little while back, and I don't think we'd ever really mentioned it or highlighted it. But you can now create polls within forms, either as a part of a form or its own little thing. So I've got the
color poll.
no, it's the test poll. Sort by the most recent.
That's fine. We have a ton of forms. Test poll.
So this is really useful if you want to just get, quick feedback about something and have sort of options. You used to be able to do this before, basically by creating a questionnaire that would have, multiple checkboxes or buttons or something like that, and then you would see this. But what's nice about this is this actually gives you results, that extra little poll results thing that you see up at the top there. That's different. You don't get that with other kinds of things. So it's a really, really simple thing. You just simply, add in your title and then put in your options. You can do an extra one for other if you want people to give you an other one, and then people submit. So we already have at least one church that is using this for doing a survey about their online worship and trying to get, now that they've been doing it for a while, they're trying to get some feedback from them. So that's Granger, even Granger EUMC, who's often under.
Polls are good for social interaction. When people can see the results, it inspires them to contribute. They're not good for things that you don't want to be public. Although you can turn off the public option, viewing option, right, Tim? Or you can also have it so that they can only see it after they submit. I think those are the two options. You can see it after you submit, or you can see it before you submit.
Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to go back to the editing options.
I know those two options exist.
I think
I've
that's
seen
right.
it in this poll. What happens if there are a whole bunch of? What's that?
Can you incorporate this with a sticky element so it would stay on the?
Sure.
Yes. You could put this. You could use a shortcut or something that we could get you a plugin called Gravity Divi, which allows you to cleanly insert forms into Divi. Or you could just use a short code, a little code snippet that you put in a code module in Divi. And then you could make that code module be sticky using the same things that I just showed you earlier about sticky modules. This all sounds like we teach our kids now about tricky adults, sticky adults. I don't know. That's what we say instead of stranger danger. I have a 7-year-old. It's on my mind.
Anyway, so any questions about polls? Awesome. Well, like I said, it's just if you go back to the settings of the poll, I'll just it's in the advanced fields, And so that's where you find that to be able to drop those poles in there. So if you were adding in another, sorry, not that advanced, over on the right, on the advanced fields option, if you were adding another.
Yeah, where you
right,
find the
that's where you,
pole
that's where you
right
find
here.
that. Yeah, exactly. So that's all you have to do is just drag one of those in, and then it's a pretty self-explanatory thing from there.
And I think our clients have most of these options.
They should have all those. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they should have
Gravity
everything.
Forms is powerful.
Yeah, it can really do a lot of stuff with it. So it's kind of a nice little thing. Not game changing by any means, but certainly handy if you are getting a lot of full results, because having that calculated all for you rather than having to go into a spreadsheet and then do the calculations is kind of a nice little time saver there.
Gravity Forms has a new interface that's in beta. I don't know.
Oh,
It should be more I think it's pretty user friendly, although these all get kind of complicated. Oh yeah, you can look at your poll results.
right. That's what you were showing us earlier. So
It gives you a more, you can actually filter it. It's nice.
all righty. Well,
what did you want to do next?
Let's see. The next one I thought we should probably look at is, let's see. Why don't we take a quick look at the block editor? Just do a new post.
It's fine. We have two types of page editors. One is Divi and the other is Gutenberg blocks. Gutenberg blocks is the default new way that you can drag and drop to build pages in WordPress. What do you want to show people about
Gutenberg? There's just they've added a lot of additional types of blocks that you can drop in.
One of them is the Divi module block.
It is.
You can, oh my gosh. So hopefully none of your sites load this slow on the back end. We, as super admins, we have all kinds of software that's running in the background. And so it always goes this slow for us, which is unnerving for me.
And Will probably doesn't use the block editor very often either. So that slows it down a bit too.
Oh yeah, so it's not cached anywhere.
No.
Welcome to the new block editor. Make each block your own. Already knew that. Get to know the block library. This is all. Okay. Use the default editor is what you would choose instead of the Divi builder. And you go to add a block, which you can do hitting this add button or this add button. Hey, those pulls that we just talked about right there. It's easy to find in Gutenberg. Divi layout. Oh, you can inject an entire layout. That's interesting.
Yeah, I haven't had, I tried to do this earlier and it like seemed to pull in like an entire web page.
Yeah.
So I haven't had a chance to.
Well, the loadout with the layout that you chose was an entire web page. That's what it would do. Do what I tell you to. Slow to switch between.
Yeah, I'm not sure all the advantages of doing it this way.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think if there's like something that just looked really good in Divi and you wanted it to be in your post and you didn't want to spend the time trying to recreate it in Gutenberg, you could just pull it in this way.
Mm-hmm. But if you go down to browse all,
okay,
that's where you get the list of all the different types of blocks, and it just keeps on going and going and going. There used to be about half this number, and now they've added all these embeds in here for all kinds of extra sites.
And as you add plugin, they add blocks. So this is the new way WordPress will work. There might be a time when Gutenberg overtakes Divi and we just use Gutenberg. Divi does such a good job of developing it that I think it would be a while. Either way, you'll be covered because we have both of them available.
One of the new ones that I noticed this time is Verse, which is really nice for if you want to add a formatted section of scripture or a poem or some song lyrics. So that's a nice little
That's a
addition
plugin that
one.
we have had forever that just added a block when we updated it.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah. So that's not
That was
standard.
yours.
I don't think that the WordPress community is now freely embracing Bible passages on pages.
Well, the demo of it
Yeah,
showed just like a poem, so I thought it must be just a
Oh, yeah.
standard one. But anyway, so those are just kind of fun to play around with at some point. All the different layouts, and you know, some churches, what they like to do is use the this editor for their blog posts or things where they maybe have a volunteer who's kind of just occasionally creating some content, but doesn't really want to get to know Divi. This is kind of an easier
We
way to.
recommend for posts and not pages, for posts, we recommend using Gutenberg. It's a better editor for just writing story form things. Divi's a lot more functional, which is why it works better for pages. But here you can, like, if you're keeping your services on YouTube, you can embed your YouTube. I wonder what options it comes with. Advanced, not much.
Not a lot, no.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, if you did use the added video module in Divi, you would get a million options for how to style that and how it displays. Gutenberg, so far, it just displays the video how it wants to, or the way that it's the default way.
You could create a multi-column kind of layout here, and so you could do some things with a little bit of styling, but it's a little more work to do that.
Yeah.
But sure, you could.
Columns, not as many column options as Divi. So Divi's just outpacing it for the meantime. There are more people working on Gutenberg though. 2 columns. Any questions about Gutenberg? What did people want to work? What did you want to do next, Tim?
Next, I was going to switch over to the calendar and show the new color styling option. And
Where
for
do you have
that, I was
set
going to
up?
go to PAFUMC.
Oh, no.
Yeah, PAFUMC.org. And you probably will need to log into this one as well.
Hopefully I have already.
It should be just your regular.
Yeah, but I don't save it for individual sites, so I have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to go and grab it. I have PassCamp open though, so I can do it.
You need to share it. Actually, why don't I? Because then the next one's going to be SmartCrawl, which I can do.
Oh, can I show everybody the site and then leave the rest for you?
Sure.
I won't spend a lot of time on it because it's not as useful to everybody, but people might be interested. So next Wednesday, we're going to launch a new site. Aboundant already does a lot of consulting work, and what we mean by that is we offer we have our church website network, which is do it yourself, and then we have consulting work. We've always done consulting work, but we're formalizing it a little more. And this is the new site we're launching in relation to that, and with a whole new brand. So Aboundant now has this infinity logo going on in it. And this is our new site. And of course, we work with more than just with churches when we do consulting, but we still want to work with groups that we think are doing holy work, that are working for the social good. And so we've demonstrated some of those clients. And some of these will be churches, generally larger churches that want us to do a full service website for them, which we have quite a few. And then as part of this, we're actually going to rebrand our church website network too, because we want them to have two different brands and not both operate under Aboundant. So Aboundant's going to kind of be the umbrella group, but our church website network is going to be called FaithSpring. And what's funny about FaithSpring is FaithSpring sounds like a lot of the other church website products that are out there. They're all kind of like that, like Faith Connector, Share Faith, or whatever. But Tim and I have actually had FaithSpring longer than all of those. We started doing things with FaithSpring in 2005 when it was a worship service. And when the worship service stopped, we took over the domain. So we can actually claim that we've had that intellectual property longer than any of those other companies. And so at some point in time, we're going to move everybody's sites over to FaithSpring. And we hope to give you a lot of new benefits. With that move, it probably will be a little painful. We're probably going to need everybody to switch their domain IP addresses if they control their domain still. But other than that, it should be pretty seamless as we take people over to FaithSpring. And when you go to log in, you'll go to faithspring.com to log in. But in the meantime, we're trying to promote, that's probably about 4 or 5 months down the road. In the meantime, we're trying to promote our consulting work a little more. And the last thing I'll show people, Tim, is this page, because I think it's important. So we talk about how we're carbon neutral. Did everybody here know that we offset our carbon emissions? So your site is, not only is it not generating any carbon emissions, we're actually paying carbon back. And we do that through a company called Arcadia, where basically we send them money and then they make sure that the power that we need is being produced in wind and solar. This talks about all of our webinars, which are in one right now. We've estimated all of our volunteer hours that our staff has put in since we started in 2014. It's a pretty big number. I think it's accurate. If anything, I might be slightly underestimating it. And then you probably don't know this either, but we sponsor volunteer hours from our staff. So our staff members can actually, they can actually do volunteer work for an organization of their choosing, and we'll pay them to do that 1 hour a week. So we're not a normal company. And then here's our staff currently. We have 8 people on staff currently.
Jeff is our newest person.
Jeff is our newest guy. Yep. He's a web designer. You can learn more about us, but that's the new site. You can, of course, look at some of the other services we offer. Anybody that's in our church website network can hire us to do things. We're very upfront about our rate. It's $85 an hour. And we can do a lot with an hour typically. All right, I'll let you take over, Tim.
All right.
Oh, were you going to show them ACH, or are we just going to talk about it? It's kind of hard to show.
Yeah, there's not much to talk about or to show, except, yeah, and everything was in the email, pretty much about ACH.
Yeah, basically you need authorized.net. So if you want to take check payments at a very low interest rate, e-checks. So people put in the routing information, which scares some people, but honestly, everybody in town, in my little town, has my bank account information. So I don't know why it scares people so much. Every time you give a check to somebody, they have all your routing information. So anyway, but the percentage is quite different. Do you remember the terms with Authorize.net? You have to pay a small monthly fee, right?
Authorize is around 35 a month, 30 or 35 a month for the monthly fee.
Yeah.
So it's not super cheap.
But they have no per transaction fee, if I remember, is the trade-off. So all you're paying when somebody gives a check is a 0.75 interest rate, which is a lot better than the 3.25 nonprofit PayPal rate you would get for accepting credit cards. And so you'd have to do the math. Do you aspire to have enough donations? It wouldn't take very many to pay for that $35, but you'd want to do the math to know how many you would need to get online to do that, plus the savings that you would get in financing fees. And then you can make ACH your payment option. Or you could give people the option of credit card and ACH, and you can encourage them to use ACH. So it's something to think about. It's something we wanted for a long time. I wish we had more options than just the Authorize.net. PayPal and Stripe can handle ACH, but nobody's developing for it. And so we don't have any software we can give you. But Authorize.net's been around for a long time and is well trusted. I would trust them, and under a lot of circumstances, they're a better deal. They're certainly a better deal than Vanco. Everybody's a better deal than Vanco, which is typically the United Methodist sponsored payment processor.
And some other denominations too, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's nice seeing everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Will. All right, well, I'm going to show you a change in the calendar and then do a little bit on SmartCrawl. And so let's see here. All righty. Just one moment. Okay, so let me show you it first within their site so you can kind of see what it looks like in a live form, and then you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. There is now the ability to do color coding within events. And this can be really handy, for example, if you wanted to designate your online versus your offline events, or your church events versus other groups that are in the building, if you're in a really busy building. And so you can see that they have two different categories at this church event and partner event. The yellow is a little bit harder to see the way they have theirs formatted. But you can still see a little bit of a difference in that color there. And so to do that, you want to go into your settings. And you have this new tab here called Category Colors. Now, first of all, you have to have categories in place. So if you don't have categories for your events, you first of all would come over to Event Categories and set up as many different categories as you want. And then from there, it's just a matter of coming in here to your category colors and select what you want them to look like, whether or not they have a border, what the background color, and then it gives you a little, kind of current display. And so you can see they added this extra little border on here just to make it stand out just a little bit more. There's some other options here that you can do that you can kind of get a little fancier with different things or change the fonts or whatever. But really that kind of, you don't want to get too crazy with these, or it's going to, I think make your calendar look really bizarre. But I think if you were to have, 3 colors or so, that could be a really nice new feature. Or if you really wanted to highlight all of the small groups in your church, or you really wanted to highlight, certain things for, for all the children's ministry events. If you had a lot of different children's ministry things that were happening, and you really were highlighting that for the community, that might be a neat way to use that. So lots of different possibilities. Not a huge thing, but it is a nice little add-on. And this church actually was the one who had requested to get that added, and so it was great that they thought of this idea. Any questions about color coding? Awesome. Okay. The next one that I want to show you is called SmartCrawl. And this is exceptionally useful for increasing your and improving your search engine optimization, basically. And actually, I'm going to come over to here and I'm going to create a new post. And let's just say I'm doing a post about our new worship service. Our worship services now available in streaming. So maybe the church, I was just talking with the church yesterday that said they're literally just starting to get streaming going now after several months of kind of working through all the details for that. And I'm going to go ahead and just in this case, I'm going to go ahead and use the Divi builder, because a lot of times the pages or posts that you might be doing, you're going to be doing it on that. And so I'm just going to create just a really quick little thing here. Doesn't really matter. Just going to add in a text module with the default text. Okay, so I've got myself a little page here now, and I'm going to go ahead and save this as a draft. Now, once you've got your page or your post that you've created, the way you go about changing so that you can see SmartCrawl is to come up to Edit Post or Edit Page, whichever it happens to be. And it's going to warn me that this is built with the Divi builder, and that's okay, because all I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down below that, and I'm going to get to the section now called SmartCrawl. Now, here's a preview of what my things look like in Divi. Obviously, if I were to publish this, this does absolutely nothing for me. It's not going to help my search engine rankings whatsoever. It's really not going to describe this page about the new worship service whatsoever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Edit Meta and then scroll down a little further. Now I get the ability to customize my title. The title is the clickable part of a search engine listing. And my description, that's the part that is below that, the two lines or so in a Google listing with a little more about that page. And so maybe I might do my worship type, my SEO title as new worship service. And then I like to use a separator key. And the one I personally prefer is the one that's directly above the Enter key. If you hold down the Shift and the key right above your Enter or Return key, it's a straight bar. And I like the straight bar, number one, because it looks kind of modern. And second of all, because Google actually looks at pixels rather than numbers of characters. Even though this is counting numbers of characters over here, in Google, it actually is interested in the total number of pixels that are being displayed. And this is a nice narrow thing, as opposed to a dash, which is a little wider, obviously, or a long dash or something like that. So I like to use that one. And then I might say, we are now streaming. And as it counts, you're going to notice that my character count changes. And I'm still yellow, which says, it's suggesting that I get a little bit longer SEO title for maximum effect. I have between 50 and 65 characters. Now, why 50 to 65? Well, in general, different browsers are going to display different number of characters. Obviously, on a mobile device, you're going to see less text than you probably would on a full-size screen or an iPad or something of that nature. So I like to generally default to the number that's on that low side of things. In fact, I often go, I would say between 50 and 55 is typically my sweet spot. for being able to fit on pretty much every browser. Whereas with the title character, they say you can go 135 to 300 is kind of the sweet spot. But no browser is actually going to show you 300 pretty much. There's very few browsers that would show you that entire 300 characters. However, it still gets indexed by Google and other search engines. And so sometimes there are rare cases where you really do want to pick up and use that whole entire 300 characters. I don't tend to do it very often because I think it's kind of annoying when you have a description and you can't actually see the whole thing for a church. I think churches should stick to about 140 characters is usually about what I do when I'm doing search engine optimization for a church in general. I'll usually go around 140 or so. And that fits on pretty much every device, every browser, and things of that nature. Now you can see that it's just picking up the text automatically, but what it's going to do is it's going to take its best guess based on your copy. And that's just not very helpful. I didn't actually have copy in mind that I had created. It was just lorem ipsum text. Or I guess this is the default text in that text module. But so I might do a description. And so my description is going to be something like Sundays, you can join us for streaming worship on Facebook, live, YouTube, and on our website. We hope you will join us live at 10 a.m. or whenever it's convenient for you. Anyway, that was just a really quick little write-up. I might try to think about what are some keywords that people might be searching for. Let's say somebody is searching for a streaming worship service in their town. You might want to make sure you say streaming worship and the name of your town in here somewhere. And you kind of try to write this naturally. You don't just try to put tons and tons of keywords in here, one after another, but you try to write kind of naturally, but make sure that you also have some important keywords in here. And so, maybe I might say, am on the website of, First Church in, that sort of thing. And that way you've kind of highlighted your church name, you've highlighted your town name, and then if people are searching, Google kind of helps know that those are keywords that people might be looking for, and it kind of uses that as information. If you stream or you come over to the Advanced tab, you have some additional things that you can do. Indexing tells search engines whether or not it should actually index the site. So if you have a private page or a page that you're working on that you don't want anybody to be able to see, maybe you have a page that you've created just for your council or something of that nature, and you just really don't want that to be found in search engines, you can just go ahead and turn all these off. Generally, for the most part, if you turn one off, you're probably going to turn all of them off, but that's up to you. And there are some other things that you can do here, but these are a little more advanced and less likely to worry about. Sometimes these are used if you 301 redirects are things like if you ever have to change your URL, you know that you have a URL out there published, and you want to make sure people go to the new URL. You can use this 301 redirect, and then it will redirect the traffic to here. So that's kind of a little more advanced. But in general, the one that's important to do is this SEO one. You should do that on literally every page and every post you create. Actually, you can do this kind of title and description in every piece of media you create as well, and you really should. Every PDF that you add into your media library, or an MP3 file, or a photo, or whatever. It's nice to go ahead and add a little bit of title and description for those as well. but especially on your pages, because those are the things that people are going to come across most commonly in search engines. So that's a really quick highlight about SmartCrawl and kind of how to use it. But any questions there? Awesome. Well, I hope you'll play around with that. It's definitely, SmartCrawl has been around. You may have been using it already, but they've really updated it a lot. And we hadn't run the done any upgrades on SmartCrawl in some time, so it's quite a bit different than it used to be and much better. It didn't have nearly the same kind of highlighting and so forth to kind of let you know how you were doing in your writing. So definitely check that out when you have a chance. So, well, that was all the features, new things that I was planning on showing you. There are, with our updates that we did, there are certainly lots of bug fixes and, you know, little things like that that hopefully you will never really notice. But there, you know, occasionally somebody will stumble upon one of those. And I forget what there was one recently that somebody found in Gravity Forms. And I think, oh, I had no idea that existed, and went into Gravity Forms changelog, and sure enough, it was some little thing that was preventing a certain field from displaying quite right. So, you know, those kinds of things are, there's lots of those kinds of things that people all over the world will find for the various plugins, and then that'll get submitted. And so that's why we do those updates roughly about every quarter. So, anyway, well, I think unless anybody has any other quick questions that they'd like to ask for this week.
You created a lot of work for me.
Well, hopefully some of this work will actually make your life easier.
Yep,
in the long run.
It will.
Yeah.
I picked up some really good tips. Thank you.
Yeah, I really think that those presets, that's a game changer for a lot of people. Because those Divi presets really can make it easier for making some nice things down the road. And if you ever want to redesign your site, you know, having those presets, it can really be a great addition, I think. So that's one I would certainly encourage people to utilize. I'm super excited about that one because it's going to make training new churches so much easier. We'll have those presets already created for them. As we create, you know, different kinds of modules, we'll just go ahead and set those presets, and then they'll have, you know, not only the colors already added to Divi, but all of those presets as well. And so, you know, knowing how to create a new page will really get easier and easier, I think, for churches who are kind of just getting started. So that's why I'm really thrilled about that. So all those other things, you know, they're nice additions, and you may I mean, you know, polls are certainly one of those things that could really be handy for a lot of churches. So you know, all just depends on what your needs are.
Yep.
Well, terrific. Well, it was nice to have you all join us, and we will see you again next week. And I'm going to be, I did record all of this, and so I'll be uploading it to YouTube a little bit later, and then we'll put that on our Facebook page as well. So if you want to see any of this again,
that's really
in the
helpful.
next 24 hours or so, I'll make sure that gets added.
That's really helpful. I try to take notes as we're going through, but then
it's always good.
Now, where did he click?
That's right. That's right. So